Sometimes life doesn't change with noise, it changes quietly. Not with fireworks, not with perfect timing, but with a feeling that slowly becomes impossible to ignore. I used to think love was something dramatic, something loud, something you chase. But then you came into my life and suddenly love became simple. Still. Certain. And in a world that never stops moving, where everything feels temporary, you became the one thing that felt permanent. This speech isn't about perfect love. It's about real love. The kind that shows up on ordinary days. The kind that stays when life gets heavy. The kind that doesn't ask for forever, but makes you want forever. Because the truth is, I don't just want moments with you. I don't just want memories with you. I want a lifetime with you. I never believed that a single person could quietly rearrange the entire direction of a life. I believed in plans, in effort, in timing, in logic. I believed that the future was something you built step by step, brick by brick, carefully, cautiously, alone if necessary. I believed that love was beautiful, yes, but temporary. Something that visited for a while, and then moved on like the seasons. Something warm but fragile. Something that made life brighter, but not something that defined it. And then you arrived without announcing yourself, without fireworks, without dramatic music playing in the background, and somehow the world shifted in the most silent and undeniable way. It didn't feel like falling. It felt like landing. Like reaching a place my heart had been trying to find long before I knew it existed. You didn't rush into my life. You settled into it. You didn't demand attention. You became the reason attention existed. It was quiet at first, almost invisible, like a sunrise that begins before anyone notices the sky changing color. And one day I realized the light wasn't leaving. It was staying. You were staying. There is something powerful about realizing you don't want an escape anymore. That you don't feel the urge to run toward the next thing, the next dream, the next destination, because suddenly the destination is a person standing right in front of you. Before you, the future was a concept. After you, the future became a face, a voice, a presence I could hold on to. It became mornings and evenings and everything in between. It became ordinary days that felt extraordinary simply because you existed in them. I used to think love was about excitement, about the rush, about the moments that take your breath away. And don't get me wrong, those moments exist. They still do. But the deeper truth, the quieter truth, is that love is about the moments that give your breath back. The calm after chaos. The silence that doesn't feel empty. The presence that doesn't ask for effort. With you, the world didn't become louder. It became clearer, softer, more real. The world tells us that forever is a big word. A dangerous word. A word people use carefully, if they use it at all. We are taught to protect ourselves from promises that stretch too far into the future. We are told to live in the present, to avoid guarantees, to expect change and prepare for loss. And maybe that wisdom exists for a reason. Maybe life has taught us to be cautious. But there is a difference between being careful and being afraid. There is a difference between protecting your heart and hiding it. When I think about forever with you, it doesn't feel like a promise carved in stone. It feels like a choice made every morning. A decision that renews itself in the smallest moments. And then the way we talk. In the way we listen. In the way we show up for each other even when life feels heavy and complicated and unfair. Forever is not a finish line. It's a direction. And every step I take in that direction feels right when it leads to you. You taught me that love is not about perfection. It's about presence. It's not about saying the right words every time. It's about staying even when the words are hard to find. It's about being seen in your most ordinary moments and still feeling extraordinary. It's about knowing that someone understands your silence as much as your voice. With you, I never feel like I need to perform. I don't feel like I need to be a better version of myself to deserve love. I feel like I can simply be, and somehow that is enough. There is a comfort in knowing that someone chooses you without hesitation. Not because you are flawless, not because you never make mistakes, not because life is easy together, but because the idea of life without each other feels incomplete. You become a home that moves with me, a place that exists wherever you are. And in a world where everything changes, everything moves, everything evolves, the idea of having a home that travels with your heart feels like the greatest gift life could offer. I want a lifetime with you, not because I believe life will always be easy. I don't believe in perfect stories or fairy tale endings. I believe in real days, in challenges, in unexpected storms, in moments when the world feels too heavy to carry alone. And that is exactly why I want a lifetime with you. Because I know that when life becomes difficult, the presence of someone who stays becomes more valuable than any dream that ever existed. A lifetime is made of small moments stacked on top of each other. It is not made of grand speeches or perfect plans. It is made of shared laughter that echoes in quiet rooms, of conversations that stretch late into the night without noticing the time, of simple meals that taste better because they are shared, of long days that end with the comfort of knowing someone is waiting, of holding hands not because you have to, but because letting go feels unnecessary. I imagine mornings that begin with the quiet comfort of knowing you are still there. I imagine nights that end with the same certainty. I imagine years passing not as something frightening, but as something meaningful, because every year carries more memories, more stories, more proof that we chose each other again and again and again. Growing older doesn't feel like losing time when the time is shared. It feels like gaining history, like building something invisible but unbreakable. I used to think the future was a distant place, something far away that demanded preparation and planning and careful strategy. But now the future feels closer than ever. It feels present, tangible, alive. It feels like something we are already walking toward together. Not rushing, not forcing. Just moving in the same direction, with the same quiet certainty that this path is ours. There is beauty in knowing that someone sees your fears and stays anyway. That someone understands your doubts and chooses not to run. That someone recognizes your imperfections and doesn't try to fix them, but accepts them as part of the person they love. With you, I never feel like I am too much or not enough. I feel like I am exactly who I am meant to be. The truth is, life is unpredictable. We cannot control the storms that come our way. We cannot stop time from moving forward. We cannot promise that every day will be bright and easy and full of laughter. But we can promise to stand beside each other when the skies grow dark. We can promise to keep showing up, to keep choosing, to keep believing in the quiet strength of us. I don't want a perfect love story. I want a real one. A story filled with ordinary days that feel extraordinary because they are shared. A story that grows stronger with time instead of fading. A story that doesn't need dramatic moments to feel meaningful, because its power exists in the everyday. When I say I want a lifetime with you, I am not speaking about some distant dream. I am speaking about the small, beautiful, ordinary moments that make up a life. The mornings, the evenings, the laughter, the silence, the challenges, the victories, the quiet understanding that we are in this together. Always moving forward. Always choosing each other. Always believing that what we have is worth every step it takes to protect and nurture it. There is a peace in knowing that love does not have to be loud to be powerful. It does not have to be perfect to be real. It does not have to be dramatic to be meaningful. Sometimes love is simply a quiet voice that says, I am here, and never leaves. And in a world that changes faster than we can keep up with, in a life that constantly reminds us that nothing is guaranteed, the idea of building something lasting with you feels like the most courageous and beautiful choice I could ever make. Because loving you doesn't feel like a risk. It feels like the safest place I have ever known. I used to think forever was too big, too distant, too impossible to understand. Now forever feels simple. It feels like waking up and choosing you. It feels like facing the world knowing we are not alone. It feels like growing older and realizing that the best parts of life were never the destinations, but the person who walked beside me on the way. I used to think time was something you tried to outrun. something that moved too fast when you were happy and too slow when you were hurting. I thought the years were like pages turning on their own, unstoppable and indifferent, carrying us forward whether we were ready or not. But loving you changed the way time feels. It stopped being something I feared and became something I want more of. More mornings, more nights, more ordinary afternoons that pass quietly while we sit together and talk about nothing and everything at the same time. Growing old used to sound like a distant chapter, a faraway place filled with uncertainty and questions. Now it feels like a promise. Not a perfect promise, not a guaranteed path without challenges, but a direction I want to walk toward with you. Because the truth is, the idea of years passing no longer feels frightening when I imagine those years holding your hand, hearing your voice, sharing the same quiet spaces that slowly turn into memories. I don't imagine our future as a series of grand milestones. I imagine it as a collection of small, beautiful moments stitched together over time. The kind of moments most people overlook because they don't seem extraordinary. But when you are part of them, they become the most meaningful parts of life. I imagine waking up early on days when the sun rises slowly, the world still half asleep, and knowing that the first thing I see will be you. I imagine the comfort of familiar routines, the gentle rhythm of a shared life that doesn't need excitement to feel alive. There is something deeply comforting about routine when it is shared with the right person. The same meals, the same conversations, the same places, and yet nothing ever feels repetitive. Because the person beside you keeps the world from becoming dull. Familiarity doesn't become boredom. It becomes warmth. It becomes safety. It becomes the quiet reassurance that no matter how much the outside world changes, there is something steady waiting at home. I imagine laughter filling rooms we haven't even stepped into yet. I imagine conversations that stretch across years, evolving and deepening as we grow. I imagine disagreements that teach us patience and understanding, reminding us that love is not about always agreeing, but about always choosing to stay. I imagine learning new things about you even decades from now, discovering pieces of your heart that reveal themselves slowly over time. Growing old together means witnessing change without fear, watching each other evolve and never feeling left behind, because we are moving forward side by side. It means celebrating the victories and carrying the burdens together. It means understanding that life will not always be easy, but knowing that difficulty feels lighter when shared. I imagine gray hair and slow mornings and stories we tell again and again, because they still make us smile. I imagine looking back at photographs and remembering not just the big moments, but the small ones hidden between them. The quiet days that never made it into albums, but made their way into our hearts. There is beauty in knowing that love does not fade with time. It deepens. It settles. It becomes less about excitement and more about understanding. Less about intensity and more about presence. The world often celebrates the beginning of love, the spark, the rush, the early chapters filled with anticipation. But the real magic lies in the chapters that follow. The chapters that unfold slowly, quietly, steadily. Imagine the comfort of knowing someone understands the version of you that exists after years of change. The version shaped by experiences, by growth, by challenges and triumphs. The version that feels softer, wiser, calmer. The version that no longer needs to prove anything to the world, because it has already found where it belongs. Growing old together means becoming witnesses to each other's lives. Seeing every transformation, every lesson, every moment that shapes the person standing beside you. It means holding on to the essence of who we are while allowing each other the freedom to grow. I imagine sitting beside you in silence and feeling complete. Not because life is perfect, not because everything turned out exactly as planned, but because the journey itself became the destination. Because the presence of someone who stayed mattered more than any dream we ever chased. There is a quiet strength in knowing that love can survive ordinary days. That it can exist without constant excitement. That it can live in routine and still feel extraordinary. Growing old together is not about holding on to youth. It is about embracing time and everything it brings. I imagine long walks where conversations flow easily, where silence feels comfortable instead of empty. I imagine evenings spent reflecting on the day, sharing thoughts and memories and laughter that grows softer but never disappears. I imagine the simple joy of knowing that no matter how many years pass, we still choose each other in the same quiet way we did at the beginning. Time will change us. It will shape us. It will bring moments of joy and moments of difficulty. But the idea of facing all of it together transforms uncertainty into possibility. It turns fear into anticipation. It makes the future feel less like a mystery and more like a story we are writing together. I imagine the pride of looking at everything we built side by side. The shared experiences, the lessons learned, the countless small decisions that slowly created a life. A life that may not be perfect, but feels meaningful because it was lived together. Growing old together means understanding that love is not frozen in time. It evolves, it adapts, it strengthens. It becomes quieter but deeper, softer but stronger. It becomes the foundation on which everything else rests. I imagine the comfort of knowing that even in silence, we understand each other. That words become less necessary because presence becomes enough. That love no longer needs to be spoken constantly because it exists in every shared glance, every gentle gesture, every moment of quiet understanding.